Hey everybody, it's February 26th, 2021, and today we're going to do a flea market finds episode. This particular one is actually a Facebook marketplace pick from down in Rhode Island. Somebody listed a whole lot of probably like a dozen or so machinist tools, maybe more because there's a lot of little things in there. And they wanted to sell the whole lot, and they were asking $250 for the lot. There wasn't quite $250 worth of tools there. There were some, I think there's some diamonds, some needles in the haystack would be a better description. Some small items that I think might actually have some value that may have been overlooked. So I ended up going down and meeting. We met at a neutral location. I looked over all the items. I explained why I was offering significantly less than what they were asking, and we were able to come to terms, and I was able to actually buy this for, oddly enough, exactly half of what they were asking, $125. So let's take a look at what I've got, and we'll look at some of the issues, and we'll look at some of the little hidden gems. Before we start, I just wanted to mention, if you guys aren't already a subscriber and you like these kind of videos, I really appreciate it if you would consider clicking the subscribe button, and make sure your notifications are on so when I post a new video you can find out all about it. And if you like this video, as always, appreciate it if you would hit the like button. Let's dive in. So let's start with these two items here. Actually, there's three items. These items right here are the ones that probably caught the eye of a lot of people that ended up messaging them and saying they wanted to come and buy. They didn't explain to me exactly what the people were asking for, but they said that they did have people that wanted to come down and buy certain items. So if I had to venture a guess, I'd say that this item right here is what a lot of people were going for. Now, bear in mind, this says made in China. This is not the original case, but this is not how they took the photograph. When they took the photograph, they had the box open like such, and it wasn't hard to discern from the shape and the style and everything. And if you zoomed in, you could actually even see the dial enough to see that this is a Brown and Sharp dial caliper, 6-inch. It's got some engraving here. Otherwise, it looks like it's in great shape. So I'm sure a lot of people were hoping to get this, and what they didn't mention in the advertisement, which the person may or may not have caught when they got down there. Well, the first disappointment is a smaller disappointment, which is that this is not the original case, clearly, because this is marked made in China, and this is in fact a Brown and Sharp, which is made by Tessa, which would be Swiss made, as is clearly stated right here, Swiss made. So that's issue number one. Issue number two, again, not an issue that can't be overcome. It actually is very smooth and repeats beautifully, but I happen to turn it over like this and to look at the back, and the crystal fell right out. And I was like, oh. So I immediately explained that, and lots of times the people know, but I, give everybody the benefit of the doubt and explain to them that this is a bigger issue than it appears. The reason why is because these crystals, as they call them, are actually plastic. And this has a convex shape to it. But when you buy a new crystal, it tends to be a little flatter than this when it starts out its life. So what ends up happening is this is actually a friction fit inside here. They use a crystal press, which is a special little press for pushing these in. And when you get a new one, if you were to measure the outside diameter of the new one, it would actually be a little bit larger than the inside diameter of this bezel. And the principle behind it is that when you use the crystal press will actually push this and curve it so that it's small enough to pop in there. Then once it's in and you release the pressure from the press, this tries to go back to more flat, and what that does is that pushes these outside edges out and causes them to grip the inside of this bezel. So the problem is there's no way to properly fix this with this crystal. This is going to continue to happen. Now, some people try and put a little dab of glue or something like that on here. And that's not a good idea at all, because even if it works, you're going to end up with a mess. You're going to end up with, I don't care how careful you are, you're going to end up possibly getting glue, or most likely getting glue on this little white ring inside here. So the problem is, you get glue on that, it's going to look like hell. So the only way to properly fix this is to get a new crystal and use a crystal press and push it in. If you send this out to have that done, they're going to probably do a little bit more for you. They're going to clean it. You know, a professional shop like MR Tool is going to do a really nice job of cleaning this up, making sure it's perfect, and installing the new crystal. That's going to vary in price, but it's going to be quite a bit more than what I want to put into this set of calipers. So I have one or two choices. I can either sell them as is, or I can get a new crystal and install it myself, which I'll probably end up doing that, because this is a really nice set. They're really smooth, and you know, if I sell them as is, well, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I'll put them up as is and see if I get any action on them, and if I don't, then I'll take the time to put the new crystal in. And then the case, I might have a case better than this. This cheap Chinese case, the biggest issue I have with this is there's nothing to keep these calipers captive. They aren't too bad because of the foam, but it's just really, we want the case that has the outline for these to drop into, and I might have an extra plastic case from like Mitutoyo or something like that, that those might fit in. So that's item number one. Item number two that probably caught a lot of people's eyes, and again, they didn't put brand names on anything. They basically left it up to the people to decide. So let's look first at the brand name that's on the box here, because it's a little intriguing. We've got a part number here, and then it says unknown 4-piece cast combination square set special. When I asked the guy about this, because I was explaining to him who made these and why I thought it was interesting that it said unknown, he actually claimed he bought these new, and he believes he bought these at Harbor Freight, and I don't believe that's the case. In fact, just as I suspected, this is an MSC number, and this is part of the value collection, as MSC calls it, which typically it's import stuff. But here's the interesting thing about this. So they're calling this the Value Collection 4-piece 12-inch combination set. 4 pieces, the blade, center head, protractor head, and the square head. So this is currently being offered at $115.81 on the website. So the interesting thing about this is that they currently are saying country of origin, and then it says country of origin is subject to change, and right now it says India. Now, all that means is, that means that currently MSC is sourcing these from a manufacturer in India. Country to origin subject to change is because it depends how many they have in inventory. At any given point, they may change gears and go with another supplier for these things. Now, you would like to believe, and I like to believe, that if you're spending that kind of money, even in the value line through MSC, that they are guaranteeing some sort of quality control as far as, in other words, they're willing to import them from any country to get that value, but you still want quality. So here's the interesting thing about this set. The first thing that caught my eye about this set in the photograph was the color. I looked at this color and I thought to myself, boy, that's not going to be a Starrett, and it's certainly not going to be a Brown and Sharp. But the company that I thought of immediately when I saw this, because I had a small square that was made by this company, was Peck Tool, PEC, which I believe stands for like Professional Engineering Company or something like that. They're out in California, and the reason why I was thinking Peck Tool was because the blade clearly says Made in USA on it. And if you look at a description for Peck Tool's combination square set, they talk about how this this blade is laser etched, or how, I forgot exactly how they explain how they do this so that these really stand out nice and look really good. All right. So then when I was thinking that, this might be a Peck Tool, I wanted to get a valuation on it before I went down and made my offer. And interestingly enough, there's somebody selling these sets like this on eBay from Peck Tool for about 85 bucks. And I thought, wow, okay, 85 bucks, that's a pretty good deal until you read the small print. And some of the things that I saw on eBay, I don't think people are disclosing certain things about this. So if you want to buy this set from Peck Tool, first quality, in other words, if you want to buy a brand new one with no issues, okay, couple of things. It's going to be marked with the company name on the blade. All right. But it turns out, apparently, Peck will sell off their factory seconds. They're what they call blemish tools. So the tool's supposed to be fully functional and not have any major errors as far as squareness or the quality of the ground surfaces and things like that. But there may be issues with, like, on the casting that caused a finish issue or something along that line. And if it's got something like that, it's still a serviceable tool, but it's not good enough to go out to a customer who's paying the top dollar for that set, which I think, last time I checked, that's like a $160 set from them. All right. So you can buy the blemish set from them for $85. So when you're looking at one of these and you're trying to determine value, you might not be able to spot what the blemish is that caused it to be a blemish tool. But what you can do, see, these all look fine. What you can do is you can look at the blade, okay, and see if you can find the name on it. And in fact, in many of these cases, they had the name already on it before it was determined to be a blemish tool, and you can actually sometimes see the grind marks from where they ground off the name before they sent it out the door. So I'm not quite seeing that here, but I still have every reason to believe that this is in fact a Peck tool. And I have no reason to believe that it's made in India because it says made in USA right there. And I do believe this is the original blade. So this is still a nice set, nice complete set. It's going to be a little tough for me to figure out value of this set used because of the fact that it's not, it may be a second. Unless there's another U.S. manufacturer that is making sets this color, which I kind of doubt. And again, getting back to this label, unknown is just there because MSC is going to use this stocking number and this label on this set that they're selling in their value collection, no matter who the manufacturer is, whether it's India, China, Japan, whatever. Also in that same box, which was clearly visible in the photo, was this, another protractor head. Now the interesting thing about this protractor head is, well, a couple things. It's completely unmarked. That's interesting, item number one. But then again, so are all the heads in that box. But what's really interesting to me about this head is the color. And it didn't come out so well on the Facebook photo, but when I got there, I could clearly see this is a light gray color. Again, an interesting, non-standard color. Not your typical black that you find your Starrett and your Brown and Sharps. So let's look at these two heads next to each other. The design's actually quite a bit different. Everything tends to indicate that these are made by two different companies. I'm sure that this was just thrown in that box because it was an orphan. And when I asked him about it, he said he had bought a box with tools in it at a flea market previously, and that he was just took what he wanted from the toolbox and was selling off all the other stuff. But as long as it fits a standard blade, we should be good to go. I'll have to check that. And somebody's going to get a nice deal on this because I don't know the maker, but it's actually very clean and in great shape. Another item I could see in the photo, but I couldn't get a good enough look at, was one of the first major disappointments. You can see this small square in the photo. These little 6-inch squares like this in Starrett, used, are easily worth 25, 30, even more. So I get there and I pick this up and look at it and immediately realize this is just a very cheap, well, I shouldn't say very cheap. This could even be an Ideal or a General or something like that. And it's completely unmarked. So it's a nice little serviceable square for somebody. It's even got the scriber. The scriber is not missing, which is cool. But that's not going to be worth much. All right, let's go in little box number 1, see what we got. All right, here's a Craftsman number 9-4029. I've had, I think, the General Hardware Company's version of this. Looked identical to this. I don't know if I've ever had a Starrett this style that's got this like hook shape on this part right here, which is kind of nice. This is a little protractor. And if you don't already have one of these, I usually am able to sell you one of these because I usually don't charge that much for them, and it's a nice handy little tool to have. There's another version where this part right here, where these corners are cut off. And what's nice about this style is that because this is a 90-degree angle right here, you can stand this up on its side and do this, you know, which may or may not be important to you, but anyways. This is a little hook. Interesting. I thought this was just like a random keychain thing or something that somebody stuck these on. It turns out no. These are marked Neuses? N-E-U-S-E-S. Neuses. Feeler gauges. I like these. They got a little curve to them at the end there. And then this is clearly marked Neuses right here. It's actually marked P.K. Neuses Incorporated. And then on the back side here, Arlington Heights, Illinois. So this is a U.S. made set of feeler gauges from a company I've never heard of. Kind of neat. If I don't have a set like this, I will probably keep these because there's not going to be a huge amount of value to these things. Well, the P.K. Neuses Company is now located in Rolling Meadows, Illinois, so they either moved or Rolling Meadows is part of that other place, I don't know. Their website's still up, so it looks like they're still in business. Well, there's good reason why a machinist may have never heard of that name. Turns out that company is mainly making hand tools for the electrical or electronics industry by the looks of it. A lot of cabling tools and specialty tools like that. And this feeler gauge is still in their catalog. It looks a little bit different, just has different labeling on it. So this is an older set. And they actually made 2 versions of this. They made a stainless steel version, and then they made a steel version, which is what this is. So it's actually a nice little set. I only was able to find one on eBay right now. Somebody's asking $5 plus shipping for it, and they're calling it a vintage set. Which, you know, then I guess this is vintage too. The company has been in business for quite a long time, it turns out. The founder of the company, I guess, passed away in 1982, but started the company back in the late 1800s, according to the history section on the company's webpage. So, all right, enough about that. A little triangle block. A little triangle block of mystery appears to have been precision ground. A couple of pocket holes here with elongated slots for adjustment. So whatever this went on, I think there's actually another one in the other box there. So that's just going to be a whole lot of much ado about nothing, unless we figure out something. This is just a little 50 thousandths gauge block, but it's completely unmarked. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to ever find out much about this thing. This micrometer needs calibration. It's half a thou off, but so that's why this is measuring half a thou off from 50 thou. So whatever. Nice chrome satin finish Starrett 6-inch scale. A little scratched up, still very serviceable. Another, a little 3-inch Starrett scale. Sometimes when you find a scale like this, you have to look at it closely to make sure it wasn't somebody, sometimes a machinist will cut a scale because he has a need for a small, to get it into a tight spot. This is an actual 3-inch scale. It's actually got the graduations on the edges too. This is nice. This is a Starrett 289A. And what this is this allows you to put together a blade from a combination set, like that last one I just showed. A Starrett blade will fit right in here, and then it'll allow you to clamp a ruler right here, like so. All right, and you imagine your blade is here, and now you've turned this into a nice larger square. And this is an A, size A. I'm not sure how many sizes they made in this. I believe I do have both sizes in my collection already, so that means I'll be able to offer this one up for sale. This is a pricey little doohickey. We get a couple of random feeler gauges that belong to nothing. This is a chair. This is a chair for a very tiny machinist to sit on. No, you know what this is? This is a, I believe they call this a chair style edge finder. Okay, so the idea is, this is also referred to as a tool maker's chair. And again, this is for finding an edge. It's a style of edge finder. And the way it works, I'm not going to get too far into it, but actually Tom Lipton did a really good video, Ox Tool on YouTube, did a really good video on showing a whole bunch of different versions of this style of edge finder. But the way you would work this, you would use this in your mill, and say I wanted to locate the center of the milling machine spindle directly over this edge right here. So this has been precision ground so that this edge right here is located directly underneath the halfway point between these two edges. So when I put this on here like this, okay, then I've got this, mounted in my vise or whatever I'm holding it with in the mill. Then you mount an indicator in the mill, either using like an Indicall style clamp, or if you've got an indicator that's got the the rod that's in a collet, however you want to do it. You put that in your spindle, and you touch off on this edge, and then you rotate back and forth, and you sweep back and forth here, and you find your high spot, and then you rotate it around 180 degrees, and you do the same thing on this side. So you're going to be sweeping in an arc back and forth here, and you find the high spot again. And if the two high spots aren't matching, if you're not getting the same reading, then you're not centered. So then you adjust your table a little bit, and you do it again, until you get to the point where when you sweep here, and you swing around 180 degrees, and you sweep here, your indicator nulls out, and then you know that at that point, the center line of the spindle would be directly over the center point of these two, of the very center line of this opening, which is going to be directly over this edge. If it's a precision ground edge, obviously if you've got imperfections there, nothing's perfect, but you get the general idea. These are commercially made by a lot of different companies, but it's also just a great project that you can make if you've got a surface grinder. So kind of a neat little thing. I think I have a commercially made one of these. Probably I'll offer both of them up for sale. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll offer both up for sale, and I'll explain in the listing that, hey, this one is cheaper because it's no name, and then I've got if you want the commercially made one, it's more money. And, if they buy the commercial made one, this one will go back in my drawer, because I have so many different edge finders and center finders. It's a riot, actually. I could do an entire video just on those. So here's a good example of diamonds, you know, needles in the haystack type of thing in this lot. This little doohickey right here is a Starrett number 392. So for whatever reason, this little sucker right here is actually an expensive little thing. These still trade for good money used. Matter of fact, I think I already had one of these, and I think I didn't even keep it for myself just because the lure of easy money has a very strong appeal, as Don Henley once said. Anyways, so what this is a center gauge holder. So you get a V on the back side of it here, and you've got a slot with a little piece of spring steel in there, and the spring steel is in there so that it keeps this from falling out on you. Okay, and you put that in there like that. All right. Now, what that allows me to do is, say I've got something round chucked up in the lathe, getting ready to turn down the diameter on my Duracell battery. Well, instead of worrying about this falling off while you're trying to, you know, juggle it and get that in there, or if you're like me and you got big ham hands and you can't quite get your fingers in there in that tight space because you've got the tool up against here, if you got this on there, it basically stays in place really nice. So it's a handy little thing. I don't know. I'll have to look. If I did, in fact, sell my last one, maybe I'll keep it this time. I don't know. I almost threw my fishtail in there, and then I'd sell it, and I'd go, well, hey, how come I don't have a fishtail anymore? All right, let's check out what's in the final box. Nice short video. A Mitutoyo 0 to 1 inch tenths micrometer. The lock works. The friction thimble works the way it should. It's got carbide faces. This is actually a pretty nice little micrometer. It's a model 202-104. It's lightly engraved. It's got a satin chrome finish on it. It's actually kind of a nice one. Nearest I can figure is that this is a stencil for drafting. Oh, here's that other block. Matches that last one. Not sure what the deal was on these. Starrett 272A radius gauge set. Small radius gauge set. That's a nice little find there. Let's see what the box is for. The box is for a number 108 line level made of aluminum. Well, how do you like them apples? I don't think I got that. Oh, here it is right here. Boy, I didn't pay any attention to this when I picked it up and looked at it real quickly. It just didn't look like much to me. Now that I look at it, it says the level number 3 made in the USA, but it's not marked Starrett clearly like every Starrett thing I usually have come across. But, well, see, this says number 108, so I don't think this is the box for this. Yeah, this just doesn't look Starrett to me. Well, how do you like them apples? I tell you, I never get tired of being wrong. Here's a one that sold on eBay in the original package, and it's a Starrett line level, and you can clearly see that it is the same one. It's got this like copper top and an aluminum body, and it is a 108. So I don't know why this says line level number 3 on it over here. But judging from the photograph, that is a 108. Bottom of the box is missing, but no biggie there. And yet, this is a previous auction for a 108 in the original cardboard box, and notice that the body is all aluminum. Now, mystery solved. This eBay seller who sold this for 15 bucks listed it as a 108 Starrett. There's nothing that indicates that it's a 108 on this packaging. There's a 36077 stock number up in the corner, and that's it. And this clearly I could see also says number 3 on it. So this listing was wrong. And the 36077 stock number corresponds to an E3 level by Starrett, the number 3 level, which here's an example of a new old stock one that sold on eBay. Brought 20 bucks. Yeah, so I got a number 3 level and a number 108 box. Alright, let's see what else we got in here. Got a couple more scales here. Lift swing drilling fixtures. Drill jig bushings. Accurate Bushing Company. Garwood, New Jersey. Machined cast iron sections. Jigs, fixtures, and components. It's a little promotional scale. As opposed to this is a Starrett. This is interesting. This guy put this little dab of yellow. I saw this on all of the several different things now. A little dab will do ya. Guess he wanted to be able to spot his stuff easily in some other guy's box. That's a little satin finish, little satin chrome finish. Number C303, I think. No. And here's another little Starrett scale. This is a little 4-inch. And again, this isn't cut down. Oh, all right, this is nice. This is a nice little Starrett number 6 screw pitch gauge set. When I see these little fold-out sets like this, I always prefer that they be screw pitch because those are a lot easier to sell. More commonly used than the radius gauge sets. So that's going to be, pretty sure I already have this one, so I'll be able to sell that. This is a Union tool. Wow. So because it's a Union tool, it's got some age to it. Union tool of Athol, Massachusetts. I'm sorry, Orange, Massachusetts. Which is not far from Athol where Starrett was. So I don't remember the whole history between these two companies, but this is in fantastic condition because I think this is actually a pretty old piece. So this is a pretty common depth gauge you run across quite a bit, but it's also a little protractor, which makes it sweet. This might even be nicer than the one I've been keeping for myself. Maybe I'll keep this one, I don't know. But there is a like an indentation there, so it will lock at the 90-degree mark. Clearly marked again on the back side there. Union tool. Saw this little square in the picture and you know, hoping Brown and Sharp was Starrett, and get there and find out no name. Well, technically it's got this guy's name on it because he engraved it. so I guess it's not really a no name. 3 micrometer wrenches. It's interesting, a little point to screw into something. Don't know what. This is a nice little doohickey that would be worth a few bucks if it was a Starrett, but it appears to be a completely unmarked no name. So what this is this is to go on your dial calipers. So what many of you who have a set of dial calipers have already figured out is that most dial calipers have a rod that protrudes out this end when you are opening up the jaws, and that is for a depth gauge. So the idea is that you put this edge down on whatever you want to get down into, right? But what many of you may not have known is that there is an accessory that allows you to clamp on. This is a pair of El Cheapo Chinese ones, and it looks like there's a little bit of an interference there. So let me grab a proper set. So interestingly enough, I just checked my Mitutoyos, and they will not fit on my Mitutoyo dial calipers. This is my Brown and Sharp set, and it fits perfectly on here. So the idea is you slide this on, right, and then you just bring this up against something. Okay. Now we've got a much more stable edge. So when we do our little trick here with the depth rod, we can get a better measurement. So I don't have a pair of Starrett, so I can't tell if these would fit Starrett or not. But the Mitutoyo is just a tiny bit wider than this, so they won't fit in there. I didn't realize that until just now. On some Starrett caliper sets that I've seen, and some Mitutoyo caliper sets that I've seen, inside the box there's actually a place, a cutout in the foam for this doohickey. In fact, right there. Also, I guess we're going to just keep those. So the other thing I spotted in the photo that I knew could be a really nice find, depending on what they, who made them, would be these two little items right here. So they certainly look like they could be Starretts, but they're not marked. So the question is, are they just not marked Starrett because Starrett didn't bother marking these clearly? I don't know. But what these are, I believe these are called key seat clamps. And they happen to be clamped currently to a little tiny, little 2-inch Starrett scale. That is pretty neat. Okay. So these are supposed to be clamped to a steel scale like this, and help guide you in scribing out lines for a slot for a key seat cutter on a shaft. There's the number 6 stamped on that one. It's either a 6 or a 9 stamped on both of these. Well, I don't know who makes these, and I don't think I ever will. I don't think they're Starrett, because all of the Starrett ones that I was able to find, including the ones that I have now, are clearly marked Starrett. These also have that interesting like acid wash finish on them with that coloring in it. And these are marked, clearly marked on the side, Starrett. I've also seen some of these where they were clearly marked Starrett on this flat area up here. Also, all of the Starretts that I looked at had this style of thumb screw, where it's almost like a rounded, knurled edge, as opposed to these are something different. So other than these numbers, which are either a 6 or a 9, I don't see any markings on these. I'm even now wondering whether or not these suckers are just shop made. I'm looking at them and noticing that this looks like it wasn't cut perfectly straight. And the final item is another nice little gem that I could see in the photograph, but I couldn't tell who made it. But I could tell just by looking at it in the photo, based on its size next to the other squares and everything else, that it was a little tiny square. So I figured that there was a good chance that it was a toolmaker's square, which these little toolmaker squares are pretty pricey. And this one is marked number 14, hardened on one side, and LS Starrett on the other. These kind of have a neat design, whereas the screw on the bottom here will actually allow you to loosen it up and lock it. So that's a nice little collectible square. I'll probably have no trouble at all selling that. Alright, so that's going to bring this episode to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the like button, and if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Take care.